Before I start, I just want to thank you so much for being here. You are so rad. When we started this show as a sort of like experiment, at this point it's been a couple years, we were like, would people want to hear strippers talk? I mean, I knew I wanted to, so I just really appreciate you coming on, because like we've been able to take this show around the US and internationally, and it is in large part because Philly is the fucking best. Has supported this endeavor for this whole time. So give it up for yourselves for supporting this. So with that, I'm gonna give you a talk. Normally at Do Both, I talk about shit that I have no business talking about. Like the last two talks were on like pandas and Satan. But this time I'm gonna actually talk to you about a thing that I'm qualified to discuss. So with that, oh shit, okay. So why are we talking about this? Well, first of all, because even if you're not sexually active now, or you might be in the future, or maybe if you never make a sexual debut with partners, you still deserve to know like how your stuff works and what it's like to be a person in the world and how that interacts with you. So we can't necessarily expect that kids are going to learn a lot of this stuff in school, because it super depends on where you live and what year you go to school. But if you do get sex education in a formalized training, it'll probably mostly discuss like how to prevent pregnancy, how to prevent STIs, which is important, but it's only one small facet of sexual health. It's an incredibly small piece of it. And it doesn't discuss like necessarily the motivations for behaviors, for instance. And we can discuss these things with kids in ways that are developmentally appropriate, even long before they're actually sexually active. So we can talk about the idea of sensuality with kids in a way that they'll get it. Like, why do you like to pet puppies and kitties? Do you think Kitty likes to be pet like that? We can discuss these things. We can also talk about like intimacy and vulnerability outside of sexual context. We could be like, who do you want to be close to, and how do you learn to build trust, and what happens when you break trust, and how can you build it back? We can discuss these things even when kids are super, super young. We'll also discuss things like identity, like gender and orientation. And that doesn't mean that you have to know all of the options and all the vocabulary. It simply means that you're making a space where no matter who that kid grows up to be, you will love them, and they know that. Because that's huge. And this isn't a talk that you have one time, and it doesn't start in 6th grade, it doesn't start in kindergarten. This starts from the jump. This is more about approach. This is just about being a space where a kid can ask you questions and you will tell them the truth to the best of your ability. And you won't judge them or punish them for asking. And there are a lot of people who are opposed to sex education in schools. Those people fucking suck. And they're also wrong, because you're just, like, even if you don't have formal sex education, you're still learning about it. You still exist in the world. You see the media. You hear what other dumb, ignorant kids are saying. And if you don't have a person who's actively telling you about what are the values of our family and what are the actual facts on the thing, they're just gonna get the wrong stuff. So that's why we wanna actively be having these conversations. So when kids are very, very little, that's the first thing they're gonna start figuring out is, what are these? Oh my God, this belongs to me. And that's the beginning of understanding autonomy and consent. That's the very beginning of that. And we're gonna use proper vocabulary to describe those body parts. Because if we don't, most of the slang for sex parts are super fucking problematic. And when they're not, they're still kind of filled with like some shame and taboo that make it seem like it's like bad and naughty, which has repercussions. So we're gonna discuss that stuff, and we're gonna keep discussing that, and then we're gonna add more. So little kids can understand the idea of liking someone, wanting to be closer to them, and they have a much easier time understanding the diversity of human relationships than a lot of adults do. So don't worry about, how am I supposed to explain it to my kids? No, they get it. It's adults that have a problem with it. And we're not gonna talk about sex as things are good or bad, anything is wrong and dirty. Instead, we might discuss, much like pooping, it's not sinful, but we don't necessarily do it in front of everybody. And all of this is just to demystify sex. Just to make it clear that this is a normal part of being a person. Everybody has a body, everybody has parts, all the parts are different. And all bodies are good regardless. There's not a correct way to body. And then as we get older, we can start talking to kids about decision making and figuring out what is it that I like, that I'm interested in doing, what do I not want to do, and how to communicate about those things and make decisions for myself. And this is an ongoing conversation. Again, it's not one time. We just continue to be a place where someone can come and ask questions, and I'll do the best that I can to point where you need to go, and you're not going to get in trouble for it. And I'm going to give you information before you need it. So for instance, contraceptives, safer sex stuff, I should know that stuff before it's relevant to me so that I can consider my options and then communicate it to someone that might be a sexual partner before I get in the situation. And all of this is steeped in a helping huge pile of consent and understanding that it is an ongoing process. It's not a black and white thing. You certainly shouldn't use a fucking app for it. Jesus. And most importantly, I don't expect you to know the answers to all of this stuff, but I do want you to know you are not alone in this, and I'm gonna share this slide on the internets later, but these are just some resources for parents, for people who have kids in their lives, and for kids themselves. You are not alone. There are a lot of people whose whole job is this, and they will help you, including me. And you can go to my website if you have questions on future reading, or you just wanna look at porn on Monday.